Hi, you're listening to the Expert Pod, where we interview business owners, experts, and consultants on the inspiration behind their business idea, their tips for achieving success, including their marketing and PR strategies, their key learnings, and of course, their mindset practices. Hope you enjoy the show. So I'm excited to introduce you to today's guest, which is Liam Zollo. He is a former athlete, a Guinness World Record holder, turned fitness and podcasting entrepreneur. So today we're going to talk to Liam about his transition from being an athlete to running a training business. And we are also going to pick his brain on everything that you need to know about podcasting, because I know so many of you would like to start one. But let's start with, what does the first 5 minutes of your day look like, Liam?
First 5 minutes of my day, at the moment, I'm training for a mixed martial arts amateur fight. So the first 5 minutes of my day is preparing for what's going to be happening. My training starts at 5:15 in the morning, so I get up. First 5 minutes is now visualizing what I'm going to be doing, because I know the fight's coming up in a month's time. So I've got my opponent who I'm fighting against. So the first 5 minutes is actually visualizing what I'm going to be doing in training that day to prepare me for that fight. So usually it's a bit different in this scenario, what my day looks like, because my main purpose and my main goal right now is for this MMA fight. So that's where my visualization is tailor-made towards that specific goal and that specific target that I'm trying to get towards. So for example, for me, I know it's MMA is probably not the ideal way to talk about business, but or podcasting, but it has a lot of relation to the sports world and trying to overcome obstacles and continuously working on success, continuously working on failures. So the first 5 minutes is mainly for me just to visualize what I did wrong yesterday and how I can fix it today. And that's what I'd be doing if I'm not preparing for the MMA fight in my real world, and not what real world, but my business world. I'd be preparing for what went well yesterday, for example, in the pod hub. And then how can I make it better today?
Have you always been fighting, like MMA fighting?
No.
Why did you decide to do MMA fighting?
This is a bit of sounds a bit deep, but I was diagnosed with depression when I was 17 years old. I don't think I was depressed personally. I don't still feel as though I'm depressed, but the doctor said to me, you can either go on medication or you can do something to try and challenge yourself in those fears. I was borderline depression and generalized anxiety disorder. I think majority of the population right now has some form of anxiety disorder at some stage of their life. We all get anxious, so that's all the doctor was telling me. I was just a kid at the time. I didn't want to take medication, so I decided to just do something completely different and stir me in another direction where I could challenge myself and put myself in a situation where I amplify that anxiety so that I can continue to overcome it. So,
interesting. Does it work?
100%.
Wow.
Because anything in my life becomes easier, Brittany. Everything, whatever I'm doing, like I'm going into the pod hub, I go into a work meeting on a day-to-day basis. Like people we were talking about budgets and stuff like that before.
That would give me anxiety.
Yeah, well, I've got to make a budget of sometimes $135K, $1,000 in a month. And some people are scrambling to have answers to the bosses to say, well, why aren't you on target to your goal? For me, I'm like, excuse me, am I allowed to swear on your podcast?
Yeah, you're allowed to swear.
I don't give a shit. Like, what does it matter? Like, it doesn't matter. I'm working on such bigger things that the small little details of this doesn't. I'll do it. Let's go. How are we going to get there? That's more what it's like, and it's what it teaches me. And that's what my mindset, that human development that I've learned over the last 13 or 14 years in different parts of being an athlete. Like I've done a marathon, played rugby league for internationally, doing this MMA fight, done a boxing fight. But no, I'm not naturally an MMA fighter or a boxer. I'm just trying to challenge my own limiting beliefs, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. And I guess it's also fun to do something that you don't already know that you should be really good at it, because you're less disappointed.
Exactly right. And I'm scared of fighting. I'm scared of getting in a cage around 600 people watching me, and my family and friends are there. But that
Is MMA in a cage?
it's a cage fight. What you see the UFC guys do, the UFC, the cage
Yeah,
fight.
the Undertaker. Or is
that's wrestling.
Oh, oops.
It'd be like Conor McGregor. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
I have definitely heard of him, and the other dude that jumped into the crowd after the fight.
That's that type of thing. Yeah. So I don't really see myself as that type of person, and probably we can brush over to another topic. But what I really like about the whole, because I don't want to fight. I'm not an aggressive person, but
no, it's the challenge.
It's a challenge, and it's the ability to think. It's the ability to think on the spot, like instantly, because everything in my life slows down. I know it sounds silly. I said it already, but if I've got to solve a problem instantly, and that's why I do these things, to try and challenge myself, to try and challenge these things, of put myself in anxious situations, whatever it may be. The way to do that is if I can do it, find a solution to the problem instantly, then what happens in everyday life? Like if there's a problem here right now, as we're recording this podcast, and we'll talk about podcasting soon as well.
We can just edit it.
We can edit it. Like there's you know what I mean? There's always a solution to the problem, and putting myself in different athletic environments and not getting used to the sport. I think that for me, I played rugby league since I was 5 years old. I was just so used to going to playing footy and just going through the motions. But now picking different sports, I get to learn what I need to learn for that sport, but also I get to think of it, try and train that problem solving. And that's what I think I try and learn with this MMA fight.
Makes a lot of sense.
Will I do it long term? Hell no. Do I really want to get punched in the face? No, I don't want to do that, but I think it's a good element to try and challenge my own limiting beliefs and my own, amplify the anxiety levels that you can have. Because, as I said, everything else in my life becomes easier.
Probably after the MMA fight, marathons will seem relaxing.
Exactly right, 100%. That's what I mean. That's it. That's exactly my point. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. These things, because when I did the marathon 2 years ago or 3 years ago, that was like daunting. That was like, oh my God, I'm so anxious doing this. I can't believe why am I doing this? I only had 27 days preparation and I'm running a marathon, 42 kilometers.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? Like that was anxious. That was like it was scary. It was really scary.
Oh my God.
Then doing an MMA fight, I'm like, oh, let's go do a marathon. I'll do it. Become more of a yes man or a yes woman if you start to challenge those.
Oh, absolutely.
Challenge myself in different arenas.
Back when I used to, and probably still sometimes do, listen to the podcasts where people just set themselves up to do the crazy things. Not that this is crazy, but I decided to sign up for a half marathon, even though I'm not a runner, just to see if my other training would translate into running. Easily finished the half marathon, but snapped my Achilles after 7K. So I had to limp the whole thing. It was horrible.
Way. You did it though?
Yeah, I did it.
Jeez.
But at the same time, I was just like, all right, I understand you're doing it for mindset, but I'm now injured and can't train for 2 months. It definitely was not worth it.
Not worth it at all.
I know. I was very proud of myself though.
Well done. Doing that, I would have given up.
No, you can't. It's like a flat course in Sydney.
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about your background. You've mentioned that you used to be an athlete. You now have a training and podcasting business. What was some of the journey to move to where you are now?
So training and podcasting. I started as a plumber. Let's just talk about training.
Oh, really?
I was a plumber. My dad's a plumber. My brother's a plumber. So I naturally fell into plumbing myself. Nice. And after 6 months of being a plumber, I've worked out that, where people were, I didn't have a lot of money back then as a 17, 18-year-old kid. So in order to get lunch money at the building site, I used to challenge people in the beep test and say, I'd beat you in a beep test, but you have to pay for my lunch that day.
I hate the beep test.
I hate the beep test 10 times, worse than anything, but it was getting me lunch money for that day. So random people, random builders, it would have been carpenters, steel people, they're all challenging me to beep test, and I would be taking their money if I could beat them. So I worked out after about 6 months of continuously doing fitness challenges on the building site. I was obviously a work health safety nightmare. I worked out that was probably not the industry I should be in. So I was 18 years old and I got saved up enough money to do my first fitness course, and But I was always around the Sydney Roosters and always trying to be the fittest person I possibly could, because I was never felt as though as a kid I didn't have that belief in myself. You're a kid, now I do, obviously. Back then, I didn't feel as though my skill set, I wasn't big, I wasn't strong, I wasn't fast, but I thought to be noticed by the coaches, I'd just be the fittest.
Yeah.
So any fitness challenge that came up, that's why now I'm just probably doing these fitness challenges as a result of what happened when I was a kid. But I'd always win the big test. I'd always win those challenges because I thought that would be the way I'd get noticed by my rugby league coaches at the Roosters. And that's what sort of started my journey into the fitness world as a PT. And then I went into it as a PT as an 18-year-old at Fitness First Randwick. I was the 43rd personal trainer in that gym.
Wow.
And I was the youngest. And it took me about a year to even find like 5 clients. I was terrible in business. I was so young and stupid and thought I knew everything about personal training and everything about training. And little did I know that I had a long journey ahead of me. And then I left Fitness First, and then as a 19-year-old, and just continued to progress in on my own. I felt like I did it a lot better on my own. And just get guidance from people that have already done it before me, in the eastern suburbs. And 13 years later, I've still got a training business. Now it's ventured into online though, so I don't do a lot of face to face anymore.
Yeah,
I got into coaching.
What was your reason for that?
I was with the Rabbitohs, the South Sydney Rabbitohs, doing strength and conditioning, and then I was with the Rabbitohs second grade doing strength and conditioning, and I was running a PT business back then, and I felt like I got more of a buzz, in the around athletes, like training athletes, but I wasn't getting paid for it. So I'm not to say that general public wasn't my forte, because I loved helping people transform. Yeah, there we go. Thank you. Glad you're here.
I write a lot of articles on people's transformations.
Oh, really? I loved helping people transform, but I loved helping like athletes getting back from injuries and those sorts of things. So it's just more like a transitional thing that I had passion about helping people lose 50 kilos when I first started. That's sort of lost that passion, knowing that I could help people with a ACL injury, or someone who's coming back from a Achilles injury like yourself. How can I get them back on the footy field fast, And these
it's definitely a more unique thing to treat in Australia.
Yeah, exactly right. So that's where it sort of stemmed from. Like I was just at the Rabbitohs, then now, I just felt like I'm more in the podcasting world, but I still love helping guys, just men, with who have depression or anxiety and those sorts of things. It's really, really prevalent in men now. I didn't realise it. So
there's new research out saying it's even higher than we first thought too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it just came out this week. And the stats on men and depression was already very high in Australia.
Yeah. No, I don't know what the new stats are, but I just want to just help guys. Like there's no whether you have depression or not, I don't like to be labelled that way. I don't want to be labelled as that person. And I think most people, for the rest of after they go see a psychologist or someone like that, I was a kid when I got to see a psychologist, and they gave me the best life lesson. But then some people are in and out of psychology sessions for 13 years, where I feel I want to help guys just with their internal drive. And then me being there all the time, like where I used to run groups, I'm there in front of your face pushing you along. But what happens when you're away from me? So now I like the concept of online training where I can help these guys. They don't have to turn up. They don't have to tell people in the group their deepest, darkest feelings. They can just tell me what's going on. And you know what? I've been there, done that. I'm the alternative. Like, you don't have to go down that path and take medication. Not saying that's a bad thing. You don't have to label yourself as being a depressed person or anxious person. You can just say you're having a moment of depression and anxiety. Like I like to help guys in that space a lot more. So that's why I'm doing the online thing, I guess. And then,
but I think also the more opportunities there are to have safe spaces where men, also women have so many of them, but I guess it's also women are kind of raised to be able to talk, whereas men aren't.
Yeah.
Like, it's changing a little bit, luckily, now, but I mean, there is still that mindset and the stigma. So I think that creating a space for people to like come, talk, be themselves, and say whatever they want to say is very important.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I get a bit of a buzz out of that. Like, got a buzz a few years ago out of helping guys, like athletes, with their injuries and getting back to the footy field. This is something that I feel, putting myself into these challenges and sharing my vulnerabilities and feeling like, I'm shit scared of getting in a cage and fighting someone. Like, guys feel as though they can open up and just go, yeah, I'm pretty shit scared of just going to the gym, and having a guy next to me who's grunting and moaning. I'm like, what? Like, everyone feels like I used to train girls. 90% of my client base were ladies, and they hated the guys who were grunting. But you don't know what that guy is. That guy could be a really nice person,
He's just doing a really solid deadlift.
Yeah, he's just doing a really good deadlift, having a bit of is a bit vocal with it as well.
That's what happens though when you've got the loud headphones in. Sometimes you don't realise what is going on.
Yeah,
so,
exactly right.
What were the Guinness World Records that you broke?
The first one was the largest boxing class in the world, so the most amount of people in a boxing class. So this entrepreneurship, we talked about entrepreneurship at the start. I don't really brand myself as an entrepreneur.
It's just a simple word to use.
No, but like I guess I am potentially. It's a space of creativity. That's what I think. That's how I see entrepreneurs. I never saw myself as that way. But as I'm getting older, in my 30s now, just kind of mature.
Older,
kind of mature. I probably see myself as someone that is a bit entrepreneurial like that. And this record came about not from a goal that was initially visualized. Like, it's a bit hypocritical because now I do a lot of visualization based around a goal that I want to achieve. Where the Guinness World Record, I guess it was in some ways, because I remember as a kid, I would always get the Guinness World Records as a kid. I'm like,
it was so exciting.
I was like, I wouldn't mind getting, in the World Records book one day. But you always saw the random, disgusting ones, the guys who grew their fingernails heaps long.
That's the exact thing that I think of when I think Guinness World Record.
Yeah. Well, I try to grow my
giant fingernails.
Yeah, try to grow my fingernails, but obviously I was a little bit of an anxious kid, so I was always biting my nails, so that was out of the equation.
Did you see the most tattooed one? That was he like a cheetah or a lion or something?
Really?
And he even had the eye tattooed on his eyelid.
No way.
That was my favourite episode of Guinness World Records.
Oh, really?
It was my favourite.
Well, I didn't have the balls to tattoo myself enough or grow the fingernails, so I didn't really know what to actually do. But I wouldn't mind getting in the record books. But then I was just like 6 years into being a PT and a group fitness instructor, and someone came to me, one of my clients, and said, she came to my session crying one time. I go, what's going on? What's the matter with you? Well, I pulled her aside and got everyone to warm up and stuff like that. And she held it together and did this training session. I talked about it afterwards. She goes, my partner's been diagnosed with cancer. And I'm like,
oh, God.
You're 19. How old's your partner? Like, I met her partner before. He's 18. I'm like, he's freaking 18. He's got cancer. It's like, yeah, he doesn't have enough. He's just started labouring. He doesn't have enough money to, feed himself, and because he's just living out of home. His family's not here. Family's in New Zealand, I think it was.
God.
Or he doesn't have a lot of family over here. So I'm like, let's do something for him. Let's get everyone together and we'll raise a bit of money, and then he can have a Westfield gift voucher or something. She goes, that's a great idea. So we did like 4 boxing sessions in a row.
Yeah.
Every Saturday, I donated my time. We got 20 people down there. We raised like I think it was $500.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot.
But every bit helps.
Yeah, and then he loved the Roosters. So my mates who play at the Sydney Roosters back then still got him a signed Roosters jersey and gave him a nice message. But he didn't know about this. So we got him down to the last training session. I said to everyone in front of everyone, said, like, everyone knows why we're here but one person. And then he's looking around. I'm like, mate, we're here for you, buddy. This is not a boot camp session that's that I'm getting paid for. We're just actually wanting to raise money when I'm going through a tough time. So the Sydney Roosters found out about it. they want to give you a signed jersey, and here's a Westfield gift voucher.
Oh my God.
And then I gave his partner a Westfield gift voucher as well. I go, this is for putting up with him.
Oh, that's really cute.
So I got a little bit of a buzz out of doing that.
Yeah.
And that started something where I didn't even know it was going to. That wasn't the Guinness World Record, obviously, but someone else come to me 3 months later, and their partner had throat cancer, but then she started training with me. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Why is everyone getting cancer around me? I'm like, I might jinx or something. Anyway, we decided to put on another one, but I didn't want to do 4 boxing classes. It was just too much effort for the one thing. So we decided to do 1 boxing class. And we got 54 people there.
That's big.
It's big. And none of them knew it. Like, I think 10 people knew it. Everyone, like all my friends, random people, I put on one post on Facebook, like, we're going to do a boxing class to help this lady because she's got throat cancer. Everyone rocked up. Everyone donated their time. Like, I had the assistant coach, who's a good friend of mine of the New Zealand Kiwis rugby league side. He came down and helped me train. Had like other trainers that are, would, be very successful in the personal training world. Just wanted to donate their time, and then I just thought of it like, I know it's a bit cheesy, but I thought of it like as a group prayer. Like, I'm not religious as much as my parents want me to be.
Hopefully they won't listen to the podcast.
No, exactly right. But I just thought of it as like, if we can get everyone together, maybe we could have like a lot of positivity around it. And maybe she could feel a lot better knowing that even randoms are helping, here. And she started bawling her eyes out, as you can imagine.
That's
very
so
thankful.
Sweet.
And 6 months later, she had no more cancer. Not because of that event, but like...
Of course.
But then it's just good to see that, I thought
there was a positive outcome.
There was a positive outcome from it. People were asking me 6 months, how's she going? How's she going? I'm like, yeah, she's fine now. So
that's amazing.
You don't know. It's not. I'm not saying it was the event, but you don't know what people have the power to do post that. Like the positivity that the connection that she felt from random strangers. You just don't know what like that could have. Like she might have a positive impact from it. Obviously, it was the doctors that helped her out, curing her of those cancers and stuff like that. It was all around her body, but it's still like it helps to be positive. I feel
it does help to be positive, and it's good to have. I don't know. Connection's a very powerful thing. I like to spend a lot of time alone, but it's still very important to have your key people.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And then, so that started that was the second charity event. So it just started becoming a theme now. And I saw Guy Leach, who's in Big W. He's a personal trainer.
Yeah.
He did a world record, the largest fitness class or something on Manly Beach. I'm like, I wonder if there's a boxing one.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if there's a boxing world record. So I decided to look it up, and then you have to go through the process of going on Guinness World Records website, doing a profile, and then you have to wait like 12 weeks to find out, or you pay like a fast track fee.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to do that. Didn't have the money. I just wanted a record. So I just wanted to see if it was existent. So there was no Guinness World Record for the largest boxing class in the world. I'm like, it's one of the biggest sports, combat sports, and there's no one ever done this before. How did that work? So I went through the process. I said I'd do it. Like I went through the process, and they say give you a date and all this stuff. I'm like, date set, let's do it. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, how many people do I need? You need 250. I'm like, okay, 250 over how long's the class got to be? 30 minutes, and all this started to unfold. Like I didn't have this epiphany of like, I'm going to do a world record and I'm going to be the best world record. It wasn't like that. It was like, okay, what's next? You got the outcome, which is the Guinness World Record. But what's next? Like, what do we do next? Okay, so you need this. You need to barricade it. But you have to pay $6.5. Because I said to people I wanted the world record adjudicated it. I wanted the guy with the clipboard and the tyre, the Guinness World Record's tyre, saying, you have broken the Guinness World Record. That cost $6,500.
You're kidding?
No. It cost $6,500.
That's insane.
So I'm like, all right, well, we charge. So then that was the best thing for me because it started something. I'm like, okay, well, we'll charge people for the event then. It won't be a free event. We'll charge people for the event. And then I'm thinking, okay, we'll charge people like $40, and then that would cover the cost of the Guinness World Records. And then actually, let's do $50, and we'll donate the $10 or $15 to charity. That's how it started. That was the idea. That was coming up for me. I was having this conversation myself because no one else, everyone back then thought I was an idiot for going through this process. Who the fuck's going for a Guinness World Record? So I had to have these many of conversations to myself, like planning it out, going, can I just do it for $50? Can I do, it's a boxing class. Can I start getting boxing people involved and charge them $70 and they can have their own pair of gloves, and started planning. And then my mum wanted to get involved. So she wanted to start helping me out. And then my dad wanted to get involved. And then other people wanted to get involved. So we had like a people of like 7 or 8 people joining me at the cafe on a Saturday morning planning out this Guinness World Record attempt.
Sounds like a nice family affair.
Yeah, it was a family affair. But then before that, something was, I can't remember exactly how it all transpired, but around this time, I can't remember if it was me actually going for the world record first, or if this event happened. But I know it sounded a bit deep and might be a bit deep for this conversation, but there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. But I got a phone call, I think it was just before I was going to do the world record, or it was as it sort of started to manifest itself. I got this phone call from my mum, and she said, get to the family home. Mum's goddaughter just texted her friend saying she's going to kill herself. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm at home, man. I've just done training. So this doesn't happen to us.
No,
this doesn't. No, she's fine. She's like 16. She's fine. She's like, get to her family, get to our home now. I can't get back there. So I had to like drive 120 up Malabar Road, which is only a 60 zone, to get to the family's home. She was staying in my old room, and because I don't live with my family anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what do I do? You know, what do I say? Like, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, just do something. And I open the door, and she's lying face flat on the ground. I'm like, on my bed. She didn't do anything. She didn't do anything. She was just wanted to cry for help. So
yeah.
So that's the light, I guess. You know, but then to go through that process mentally, just to know that someone's going through that shit in their life, really hit home for me. And that was the motivation that I needed to go, oh, that's it, we're fucking doing it for suicide prevention. You know, we've got a cause. You know, we're going to do this world record. We're doing it for suicide. We're going to do it for people everywhere with that mental health.
Yeah.
You know, I've always found myself. I'm not that way, as I mentioned before, but I know other people are that way, and I just want to help people now. You know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important.
It had that like engine to go for it, and then from that point, it just snowballed. Like things just started to happen. You know. Channel 9 News were down there, the Sydney Roosters were there, South Sydney Rabbitohs, celebrities were down there.
When was this?
Maroubra Beach.
But when?
2013.
Wow.
So it was a long time ago, but all these
Sounds
things,
amazing though.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it transpired. Like, I know I've probably gone on a massive tangent now. It's only
okay.
question 2 we're on. But that's how it transpired. Like, sometimes you need that. If we're talking about business, if we're talking about you know, anything in your life, any goal, it needs to have. We always talk about a why, but it needs to be some sort of emotion for me because emotion is energy in motion, really.
Absolutely.
Even if it's negative emotion that's driving it, like someone, you know, me having to catch someone in that position that they were so low that they felt like they wanted to do something like that, even though she was just a cry for help and she took a few Panadols. That was enough drive for me to go to every person I knew, you're coming. I don't give a shit what you say. You're there. Oh, I've got laundry that. Nah.
Yeah.
You're down there, right? I don't give a shit. You're coming down. So it sort of recruited 454 people because they had to come because I'm like, got to do it for someone else, not for us, you know?
It's good practice for them to show up for their friends when they're in need.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So
but you're right. You do need to attach emotion to everything. It's important. Like, it's good to have a why, but if you don't have an emotion attached to something, then you've got no reason to do it, really.
100%.
Like, why show up if you don't care?
Yeah.
Like, I know I have to get this thing done for this company, but if I don't care, then why would I bother?
Why would you bother? Exactly right. Like if I wasn't doing it for suicide prevention, if I didn't have this girl in the back of my head, if I didn't have that circumstance that, like, as I'm walking into my old room, what the hell am I going to do if this girl is, dead? Those things drove me to the point where I'm like, I'm going to have to call. I'm on the phone at 10 o'clock at night to, news reporter, Daily Telegraph. They wanted me down there the next morning at 6 a.m. Whatever you need from me right now, I'll do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So whatever we can do to spread the message, I'll do it. And I think that's what drove the whole thing. Not me, but then people obviously. I probably started the whole thing from that experience, and then people just naturally gravitated towards it. So we ended up breaking the first ever one. I lied to everyone. It was 250 people we needed down there, but we said it was 373 people that we needed to break the world record.
Just to make sure you keep the record?
Exactly right. So we got 454 people and raised like $11,500 for suicide
That's
prevention.
amazing. And did the guy with the notebook come, or did you just give the money to charity?
Well, that was a funny story. I didn't have anyone who, I didn't know the person, but then my friend who's in business, who has like a multi-million-dollar restaurant marketing business, said, I know the guy who does Guinness World Records. He's a reporter. So I think he met him somewhere. I don't know where he met him in the end. But he said to me at the time, I'm friends with the guy. And he got me the guy's number. And then I told him the story. Like, I rang him up and go, I'm going to do this world record. We're going to get you down there and stuff like that. We're going to, obviously go through the process. And he goes, what are you doing this for? I told him the whole story that happened. He goes, oh, I'll do it for free.
That's awesome.
I'm like, fuck, that's unbelievable. So it would have only raised like $4,000 of suicide prevention if it wasn't for him donating his time. So
absolutely.
I think we just paid him for his flights, and I said, I'll pay for your hotel accommodation, whatever you needed. But he goes, nah, just pay for my flight down here. That'll be enough. So
that's perfect. So when you got into business, what were some of your key learnings that you had in the first few years? Because I, for one, am in the first few years, and I have very many learnings that I would have liked to bypass if I could have. So what were yours?
I think my learnings were, there's so many rattling through my brain, but the rules, setting some ground rules for myself, and setting an expectation of working with integrity and honor. I think that's probably the biggest lesson I learned. At the start, I was flaky, I find, as a teenager coming in as a personal trainer, and that manifested into the business that I provided and the value that I shared with people. You know what I mean? So the lessons I learned was like, me being flaky, as an example, would be like, I can't show up to a session today because I'm sick. You know what I mean? I can't show up, I'm 10 minutes late because of this reason. Like, those sorts of things people embed in their mind a lot more. So I think that me, as I get older, I realise that, and my mantra I live by, which is our question down the list.
That's all right. I'll change your last question. You can tell us your mantra.
My life works to the degree in which I honour my word.
That's great.
Yeah. So that's how I see things now. So then if I say to you, Brittany, I'm going to do this thing for you, then you know that you can trust me that I'll do it. That's how I want to live my life.
I like that.
Where when I was a kid, I was just a kid. I'm probably hard on myself, but I wasn't as much like that. And that's what the business that I manifested it in. And I wasn't adding value. You know what I mean? So the lessons that I've learned is that you're in business, especially in a service-based business. Look at the first four letters. No, yes, serve. What's serve? First four letters.
Yeah.
S-E-R-V. Yeah. So look at the first four letters. You're there to serve. You're a service-based business, so you're there to serve your people. You know what I mean? It's not the other way around. So where I thought as a PT, I'll get $70, $80 from you, and then I can go blow it with my mates and go drinking on the weekend. Have a bit of fun. And that's what happened as a business.
Yeah.
Because I thought I'm on good money and I have all the freedom in the world, so I could take advantage of people. But that's not why I'm in business anymore. That's not why I grow a business now.
No.
As I grow older, I realise that So now it's to be able to add value, as much value as I possibly can, and to serve as people. Otherwise, you're going to grow. You always have a business that's going to, I guess, have the rules that you set by, as I mentioned before.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
absolutely.
My rules were flaky back then, where my rules now is that one mantra, which is that's what I try and live by.
But you're going to respect your work and your business more if you're operating at a higher level too.
Exactly right, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you now help people such as myself with their podcasts. How did this idea come about, and how does the Pod Hub work? It is the Pod Hub, right?
Yeah, the Pod Hub.
Yeah. You literally didn't have to tell me your name. You already had me sold, but for everyone else.
Yeah, thank you. How did the idea come about? I was actually unemployed in Yamba, living in Yamba for a year. My partner's a paramedic.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah, she's a paramedic, so she's a lot more interesting than I am in terms of the stories that she could potentially share. I'm trying to get her on a podcast. She's the hardest guest I've ever tried to get on.
Is she not allowed to tell some of the stories?
That's what she says, but she always tells me them, so I think she can tell the rest of the world.
I think that's a little bit different.
I've always tried to get her on as a guest, but yeah, she has a lot of stories to share. But it was her first year as being a paramedic, so I decided to quit my life down here, quit my business, sold my business, moved up north and helped her on a journey for her first year as a paramedic. We lived in this country town of Yamba, and I was sitting there twiddling my thumbs, not understanding what to do with myself. So I really enjoyed listening to Joe Rogan's podcast and other various podcasts out there. So I thought, how can I do this? And after, we talked about this off air, just spending 20 hours figuring out how to do, put a podcast up on iTunes, and then, how do I edit it? And it just seems so hard. So
especially when Apple changes their computers, so none of my former equipment works.
Oh no! Oh my God! Bloody Apple.
Mm-hmm. They didn't think it through for us.
No, not at all. They don't think of us, do they?
No.
So I started to interview people around the world, in various different places. Like I interviewed a guy from a fitness app who's the CEO of Volt Athletics, it's called, in America.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, they're a strength and conditioning app. His name's Dan Giuliani. I've found him online, so I just went through various networks to try and get him. I message everyone I could. I even message Arnold Schwarzenegger. I still message Arnold Schwarzenegger now. He still doesn't respond, but I still go for it.
He will eventually.
He will eventually, exactly right. If I've got a good PR agent, maybe.
Yeah, he might. You never know your luck.
Yeah, so I was just going through the process and doing these video conference calls, and I just really enjoyed them. And I didn't know how to turn them. I think back then I wasn't even a podcast. It was just for my own, understanding. And I was pretty much bored in Yamba. I was either surfing or working in a gym 10 hours a week, or I was interviewing people just to try and get my own knowledge. And I came back from Yamba and got an opportunity to work down at Bondi Radio. It's in the bucket list.
Mm-hmm.
And started extracting that audio from those interviews that I did and turned them into podcasts. But I found that I was almost going to hire a lot of coaches, as I was mentioning to you before, to teach me how to, get guests or do a better interview, or I don't know, put it on iTunes. And they were charging a monster just to be your coach, for me to do all the work anyway, just to give me, the advice. I don't want to pay you just to give me advice. I don't want more information going in here. I just want someone to do it for me. So that's where the Pod Hub sort of came about. So I pitched it to my co-host, Katie Turner, who's a lecturer in Cert 4 3 and 4 in fitness, and our other partner, Andrew Davis, who's another good friend of mine, who's a personal trainer, works for James Smith as a PT.
Oh, I know James.
He's another podcaster in here.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
he used to always be at my local cafe.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay.
One of the first things he ever did was, what's your Instagram? And then he showed me his. I'm like, you've got a lot of followers. He's like, yeah, I know. And then the next day he had a story about how he talks to girls and tells them how many followers he has.
No way.
He's so funny.
He's hilarious, isn't he?
And so English.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how it sort of came about because we're on Bondi Radio, and I think that what we did down Bondi Radio, they're unbelievable down there. Love the guys down there who are creating that space. I just love the concept of doing video. I don't think that they had the opportunity to do it in that studio down there.
Yeah.
So I've always had this fascination of having multiple cameras going at the same time, live on YouTube and Facebook, and
Yeah.
I just want to see that's the new media. Like Facebook's the new media, YouTube's the new media. So
I was shocked by how many people watched the live video before.
Oh, really? Like your one that you did then? I haven't seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, just on my personal page, we had about 20 people logged in.
Straight away.
I'm just like, it's 3:30 on a Thursday. Like, why aren't you guys at work?
Yeah, exactly right. Like people just want to escape from the world, don't they? Want to get on and watch people. But that's why I just had this fascination with it. So I just figured out a way to try and go for it. We didn't have an audio background. We didn't have anything. We just wanted to help people, like as I said, add value to someone like yourself. It took me years to figure out how to edit properly, how to polish the sound, how to get a guest, how to interview, how to talk for 45 minutes without having things not to talk about. Everything, like all that stuff. I didn't want to coach people in that. I just wanted to do it for you, so you can just come in, click record, and then go for it. That's the idea.
Certainly works for me.
Thank you.
So do you have any tips and advice for anyone who wants to start a podcast?
Just start. I think everyone should have a podcast. I'm not saying that just if you're not going to use the Pod Hub, that's not a way to try and sell you to get in here and use our space. But I feel like there's never been a time in history as much as in now where you can document your own family tree, I guess.
Yeah.
Anything that you want to learn. So when's there been a time where you can interview your granddad? Like I interviewed my granddad. He's got the most fascinating story. He's president of Kyokushin Karate internationally.
Wow.
He trained Dolph Lundgren, who's the guy in Rocky, the Rocky 4 movie.
The blonde one?
Blonde one.
Oh,
he got him the gig in Rocky. I'm like, what the hell? Like, I would never have known this unless I interviewed you. So I think that for me to pass that information on, there's no, 50 years ago there was a photo that you could probably take, but now you can, in 50 years' time, show my grandkids their great granddad, an interview from them and all the stories that he got to share.
And they'll be able to hear him and see him.
Exactly right. Right. So there's that component of it. Obviously, there's the branding component for yourself and podcasting. So I guess it's just starting it, really, starting your own, just getting out there. It doesn't have to be so so pre-planned.
Yeah.
I think when I was doing podcasts it was just fitness, and then I started to dive into talking to people about MMA or business or all those sorts of things because they were my other interests. So.
But that's the thing, it's got to be interesting to you. So many people was telling me just stay on track, like do the one thing. And I'm like, yeah, but if you start talking about something interesting, you don't know what gold you can get.
Exactly right. You don't know. Like, I mean, maybe your viewerships don't want to know about MMA training, but
don't listen to that episode.
Don't listen to that episode, or just don't, you might be able to take the lessons that you learn from it. And I think your viewers, mostly people want to be a fly on the wall listening to a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
There's just this not obsession with it, but I find that that's why podcasts are taking off, because people just want to listen to this long form conversation.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, that's where you extract all the gold nuggets that you couldn't do it on a 7-minute presentation on a radio gig. You know what I mean?
So are there any things that people should be wary or stay clear of when they're podcasting?
I guess it's more the sound. Like if we're going to go down the sound, we talked about this as well. I think that's the biggest thing for people, because if people want to have their clients be engaged, the sound quality's got to be there. I find as well, like that's probably the biggest thing, that feedback that people get from it is that if the sound quality's there, then it's easy to listen to. If you hear a buzzing in the background or those sorts of things,
It can get annoying.
It can get a bit annoying. So how does that? That's probably the best way to stay away from if you're in a loud location. If you wanted to do a podcast, probably wouldn't do it in a cafe unless you had some good gear that you could just try and block out the rest of the sound, sort of thing. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
That's probably where I would be the most inclined to stay away from. Is not just not dropping your standard on the quality of the interview that you're having with the person. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Like, that's why the studio is so good, because you can have that professional location. Also, I find that ones that work really well are the ones that are in a neutral, as I mentioned, neutral location as well. Like, I've been to people's houses. Like, I interviewed Brian Fletcher, who famous rugby league player. He's on Fox Sports now as well as a presenter. I interviewed him in his home. So, which is good. It was a good lesson learned, but it would have been a lot better if it was somewhere that we could both go and rock up and just have a conversation.
Neutral ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, from your own podcast, who has been your favourite guest to interview?
Maybe Brian Fletcher.
Yeah.
Only because, look, I loved all my guests. Like, I know I'm probably backtracking on that one, but if I'm going to talk about a fun one that was probably close to me in terms of my personality and drawing out my personality, into that favourite one would be the Brian Fletcher interview, because it was just like it was just a bit of chaos for 45 minutes. He just was up for anything.
Yeah.
So that was more of a fun interview, where I guess it was my favourite because I thought it was going to be one of those clean cut. So Brian, tell me where it all began, sort of thing. Where it was just like he was very comfortable as a guest, and he was just asking me to propose to my partner on air, like on the Facebook Live, just doing random things like that. That was fun. But then at the same time, looking back on them, every interview that I've done, it's probably been about 100 now. Everyone has their own story that they like to share. So I think they all mean something to me in a different way. That's really cheesy, I know, to say that, but everyone, just to hear people's inspiring stories that they've gone through, and their own journey, get to learn how similar I am to that person, and yet so different at the same time, and get to understand where they come from. So, yeah, probably answer that question in a roundabout way.
And is Arnold Schwarzenegger the next person you want to get on?
Well, I'd like to get him on. I'd like to interview Arnold Schwarzenegger, or who else is there? What's his name now? I've had a mind blank. I've been talking for too long. Virgin. What's his name? The guy who owns Virgin.
Richard Branson. He's incredible.
I'd love to get someone like that on, just to talk to him, just pick his brain. So yeah, that'd be someone I could.
The thing I love about Richard is in all of his interviews, he really talks about how he has like a magical, blessed life, and how everything is fun, and I go on these holidays with my family, and that's fun. And
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's really good that he doesn't like hide the fact that he can literally do anything he wants to do now. Whereas a lot of people, like, he's humble, but a lot of people like kind of like are more humble and hide it. Whereas he's like, nope, I can do whatever I want. I've got a magical life.
Yeah, I've got a magical life, magical island. But that's another thing as well. Talking about podcasting and helping with people with podcasting, I know that I'm not going to get a response from Arnold Schwarzenegger. I know I'm not going to get a response from these guys or girls that I want to try and interview, but yet I do it anyway, because it's people quit on themselves too quickly, I think, with especially in the podcasting world, to try and get guests. Like, they might message someone once and they're like, oh, they didn't respond. Okay, I'm not doing a podcast. That's why I say just start and be consistent with it.
Yeah.
Even if you don't have a guest, just do it yourself.
But the thing is, you never know what could happen with anything. Like, I'm sure we have all had situations in our life where something random has happened when you'd least expect it, and you didn't think that you'd get in touch with this person or be in the same place as this person, but it has happened. So there's no reason why you shouldn't reach out and ask. I mean, obviously Arnold's super, super busy, but you never know your luck.
You never know your luck. But then it's sort of a blessing in some ways, because when we started this studio, like that's what I love about the Pod Hub, mainly because not just the gear that's in here, but the fact that I get to spend time with someone like yourself and be around someone like you that I would never had that opportunity to be in that space. You know what I mean? Same with Tegan.
Tegan's awesome.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Same. I would never have had the opportunity to be around people like yourselves, and it's a blessing to be around that. Like Jahan, who's also got a podcast in here. James Smith's got a podcast in here. Like these people are influential people that you guys are true game changers, and to be a part of that journey in some way, shape, or form is like, oh, this is awesome. It's like a million times better than getting one guest on like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You know what I mean? Just to be around that, be a part of it.
Well, I am so flattered that you said so. So, all right, seeing you jumped the gun on my mantra question, your new last question is, what is one piece of advice that you wish people would actually listen to? Don't say drink water.
Drink water. No. Take action. You know, I guess the biggest one, just participate. Participate in anything that, like, just most people procrastinate. I'll say just it's almost what Iona said before. Just go for it. Like, there's nothing good that comes inside your comfort zone ever. So just to break through that mold, and the only way to do it is just to take action. I guess that's the biggest advice I could give people, because I didn't have any audio engineering background. People at uni who are studying this might kick themselves going, this could be done so much better, but you know what? They're not doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So because they're not taking action. Not that I'm better than you, not that, you know, not that we're better than you or we're more entrepreneurial, whatever it is, we just take fucking action.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
That's the biggest thing that I've always done. Like, even though, you know, I might feel like sometimes it could be an element of failure in what we do. Just as long as you're failing forward, you wouldn't know what you could accomplish unless you take action on it.
Agreed. Well, thank you so much for being my guest today, Liam. I'm stoked to have you on the show.
Thank you.
This has actually been a really interesting interview, so I'm really happy we did cross paths to get you on as a guest. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's a privilege.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Cheers.